NDC wahala don't start to. And Peter Obi has to be very careful about his political career in the NDC. Now, the Nigeria Democratic Congress, NDC, has reportedly made a very strategic but controversial political decision ahead of the 2027 presidential election. You see that their zoning decision, it may not favor Peter Obi at all. But before I tell you why and how, do well to kindly subscribe to this channel for more educational political gists and deep political analysis like this. So, according to the current arrangement and zoning formula being discussed within the party, the NDC has reportedly zoned its 2027 presidential ticket to the south, while the north is expected to take over in 2031. At first glance, many people see this as a smart political strategy designed to maintain balance, unity, and fairness within the coalition. But if you look at it critically, you realize that this decision may eventually create a serious long-term political problem for Peter Obi himself. And this is where many people are missing the deeper political implications. Because if Peter Obi eventually emerges as the presidential candidate of the NDC and successfully wins the 2027 presidential election, this arrangement indirectly suggests that he may only rule for just one term, which is 4 years only, and then he will give chance for a northerner to contest. You see that zoning decision, it may cause problem for Peter Obi. That decision alone raises many serious questions. See, Nigeria is not a small country, and the current problems in Nigeria are not ordinary problems. This is a country battling insecurity, inflation, unemployment, debt crisis, corruption, power failure, infrastructure collapse, economic instability, and institutional decay. And many more, you can count them. Now, let's even forget national politics for a moment and look at Peter Obi's own political history. Peter Obi governed Anambra State for 8 years. 8 complete years. And most of the achievements many of his supporters celebrate today were built gradually across those 8 years. Now remember that Anambra is just one state out of 36 states in Nigeria. So if it took Peter Obi 8 years for fully establish and consolidate his achievements in Anambra, then why does the NDC suddenly believe that 4 years will be enough for him to accomplish everything if he successfully becomes the president of Nigeria? That is the uncomfortable question the NDC needs to answer right now. Because governance is not magic, especially in a country like Nigeria where problems have accumulated for decades. Even if Peter Obi enters office with good intentions, strong plans, and competent policies, the reality is that structural reforms usually take time, very serious time. Economic recovery takes time. Institutional rebuilding takes time. Security reforms take time. Infrastructure development takes time. And political resistance alone can slow down almost any government in Nigeria. So the question now becomes, what happens if Peter Obi performs very well as president and Nigerians genuinely want him to continue for a second term? Will the NDC deny him that opportunity simply because of zoning arrangements? Because if the party insists on handing power to the North in 2031, regardless of performance, then that could create another major internal crisis inside the coalition. And this is exactly why the NDC's zoning arrangement is looking politically risky. Because zoning may help unite the party today, but tomorrow it could divide the party badly. Now let's talk about another sensitive aspect of this entire discussion. If Peter Obi eventually becomes president under the NDC platform, spends 4 years in office and still believes he needs more time to complete reforms or continue major projects, then what options would really be left for him? The most obvious option may eventually be defection. And that is where things will become even more politically complicated. Because imagine Peter Obi leaving the NDC after becoming president under the party. That alone could trigger a massive political crisis. Opponents would accuse him of betrayal, critics would say he only used the party as a ladder to power, and even some supporters may become divided over the decision. So while the NDC may believe this zoning arrangement is necessary to keep the coalition united ahead of 2027, the long-term implications may not actually favor Peter Obi politically. In fact, if not properly managed, this same arrangement could eventually become one of the biggest political traps surrounding his presidency. Because as it stands now, the NDC seems to be planning beyond Peter Obi already, even before the election itself has happened. And in Nigerian politics, that kind of arrangement can become dangerously risky in the future, especially if power eventually enters the equation.